Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 33. All right, welcome back, everybody. Jay, what's going on?
What's going on, buddy?
Not much.
Welcome back.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way at the start of the show here. If you guys notice something different about my Terminator eye here, got something in my eye prior to recording, scratched the shit out of it. I wear contacts unless it got dirty or something. So, so now my eye is all fucking super irritated. So, there we go. Let's get that out of the way. But welcome back, everybody.
Somebody self-conscious much or
A
what?
little bit when I'm on screen, yeah, absolutely. You got to be a little bit. I don't really mind, but I don't need people wondering what the fuck's going on with my eye the whole episode instead of listening to us talk about this fantastic show and this great episode for that matter. Jay, this is Watching the Throne, episode 33. Everybody here on the Late Night Chat Network. For anybody that hasn't seen this show before, this is the show where me and Jay discuss episode by episode of Game of Thrones. And this is his first time watching it ever, which is always a lot of fun to hear his opinions this far out for having the show aired so long ago at this point. And this is actually my first time rewatching the show. I've never seen it since actually watching it the first time around, when it was out. So, yeah, it's always an interesting conversation. And today we're going to be talking about Breaker of Chains, which is season 4, episode 3 of Game of Thrones. And we're just kind of, we're chugging along here throughout season 4. We have another guest planned, a big Game of Thrones super fan for the end of this season that'll be coming on shortly. I'll announce it right before he comes on. But Jay, what'd you think of this episode overall? What did you like this one with the fallout of what happened after the last episode? Joffrey dying, which is confirmed at the start of this. If you guys were unsure or not of that, I know Jay wasn't ready to commit to the fact that he was dead at the end of the last episode because he was like, I don't know what happened, bro. But what do you
Well,
think?
all I know is that there's some stuff that even in this fucking episode, I was like, I don't know if I would do that. That's kind of fucking disgusting. I thought there was already disgusting shit in this fucking series, but I think
We'll
that
get
that was
into it.
another one that put it over the top.
We'll get into it. I got some comments on that one. Maybe we can reenact that scene, Jay.
Drew, which one are you gonna be? Oh,
Yeah, bust out the
who are you
quotes.
gonna be?
You guys, today we might do something different here. Actually, for the first time too. Instead of just spouting some of the quotes off, we got the transcript here of the episode. Me and Jay might trade off some scenes together here. We might bust out some good quotes here in the form of a scene for you guys, kind of just going back and forth instead of just one of us reading it out. But yeah, there's some great dialogue in this as always. I think this is a good episode. I mean, I think I wasn't bored at all by any of the storylines at this point in time, and having dealt with the fallout of what occurred last episode, I think this was a pretty good episode. I mean, nothing too crazy in terms of like how crazy this show can get, but I mean that crazy shit just happened last episode. Now we're just kind of dealing with the fallout of this. I think the next couple of episodes, since we're getting to the middle of the season, are really just in the heart of what's going on right now, or moving the story along, and things are progressing and things are building up. And there's some good shit in here, man. I really liked this one. Did you enjoy it overall, despite all that, though, Jay, or what? What do you think of this?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. And these next two episodes have been great. So it's going to be nice to see what's coming this season. Right, as I'm slowly talking to it with my dad too as well. Right.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I
Well,
know.
I
I
mean, he just watched it all again, right? But he
yeah.
sat there and watched it in like 8 days or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
I mean, and stay tuned, guys. I mean, by the time we're actually done this, by the end of this year, actually putting these episodes out, if we keep on our weekly schedule, which we've been pretty good about,
Yeah.
stay tuned because we will be talking about House of the Dragon, right?
Mm.
Which the interesting thing about this rewatch has been that there has been talk about things that we can relate it to now, that characters and Targaryen stuff in House of the Dragon. So I think there's even, if not this episode, maybe the next episode, there's stuff kind of mentioned about Targaryens or about kind of, relations to certain folks. And again, it's kind of interesting now seeing that after having watched the first season of House of the Dragon, kind of being able to put the context of something that I seen all these years ago, having rewatched it now, trying to, connect the dots and see how everything's a little connected. Right. And
Yeah.
you can do even more. I don't feel like we even go into the show like that thoroughly on here. Like, we're not deep diving into all the history of all the characters and I feel like you could do a whole show about that kind of shit, even stuff that's talked about that hasn't actually happened on every episode, if you really wanted to, right? Like, we can do a whole other show like that where it's kind of just delving into the history of this Westeros and everything else, right? But since we focus episode by episode, we got to kind of focus on what's discussed, when we watch these things, right? So, but I mean, like, if you really wanted to, like, as you saw, Jay, there's whole sites dedicated to this shit, right? That you can really get into the nitty gritty of the relationships and the the family tree of everybody and how they're all related, and maybe some characters that we haven't seen. And then if you're going to compare this stuff to the book material,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
It's surprising that all these websites you're sending me stuff at, on, you know what I mean? I didn't realize it was like a whole fucking thing like that. Yeah, right.
Of course, man. There's the people are dedicated to this world, right? The world building that has occurred. And
I'm
whenever you
starting to
get
wonder, are they dedicated or just nerdy? Yeah, I'm starting to wonder too. Am I turning into one of those guys?
both, man. People love it so much, they gotta engross themselves in the whole world.
Well, I feel like with all the notes I've been taking, I feel like one of those guys now, right? So
There you have it. All right, so let's get into it here. So, all right, so the episode basically starts off with Sansa escaping from the King's Landing, where we left her off with her at
they're pissed, eh?
the last episode, where that the jester guy kind of whisked her off there. She's on the boat. She's escaped now. She gets on a boat with this guy. He like leads her to a boat, and they leave King's Landing, and he kind of whisks her away very quickly at the end of that wedding there. Knowing that obviously she would be suspected as one of the people that poisoned Joffrey in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a pretty good call on whoever's part, but it doesn't take long for us to find out who has arranged all this, as she's greeted by Lord Baelish there. And he basically, greets her, Littlefinger there. He remembers that he still owes Dantos his fee. Dantos, of course, Sir Dantos Hollard is the jester guy that Sansa had saved his life, and he had, thanked her for this previously, right before he kind of whisked her away at the end of the episode. And so they're talking about a fee that he's owed when he actually brings her to Baelish. We find out Baelish is the one that arranged all this stuff. But instead,
that was nice to know. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. That threw me off a bit. I was kind of wondering.
I like that they didn't really waste any time on that reveal. You know what I mean? Like, if it was like a whole episode's worth of her talking to this guy on the fucking boat and we didn't know where she was going, I might be a little upset.
Walking forever, and
which they do sometimes, right? So I mean, like,
they tend to do whole seasons like that.
I kind of like that. As soon as they end of the last episode, she gets whisked away, and then at the start of this episode, it's revealed right away who's the one who arranged all this. And is, so then Baelish pretends like he's gonna go get this guy, a certain amount of money. I don't know if it was like $100,000 or something like that. 100 gold. I
think it was only 10 grand or something.
10 grand, something. I forgot how much he's promised them, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 10 grand. And basically he's like, oh yeah, go get his money or whatever, because this way you'll shut your mouth. And instead, two guys come out with crossbows and shoot the guy.
That's it, man.
Yeah, fuck this. I'm just gonna kill you because Baelish doesn't trust anybody. And
it's the best way to keep. Yeah, it's the best way to keep people silent, right?
Right. And he explains to Sansa that Sir Dantos was a drunken fool and an unreliable ally who only helped Sansa for money, and would turn her in for money. And to prove his point, he shows that the priceless necklace that Dantos gave her was actually made a few weeks ago on Baelish's orders. Now, that was a scene that we literally just talked about, that we thought, oh, this guy's such a nice guy. Look what he's doing. He's repaying her for her kindness and saving his life. Little did we know that Baelish proves that that fucking necklace was actually fake by smashing it right in front of her, saying that he basically made that thing like a couple of weeks ago prior to this all going down for him to give to her. And more on that later. We can't get into that now, but yeah, very interesting scene. And I like how he kind of proved all this to her in this scene. And Jay, maybe we'll exchange some of the quotes here, because this is a really good scene. I really liked what he said. But yeah, Sansa is confused and horrified, but Baelish promises to keep her safe. So yeah, like go down, Jay, to you play Sansa, I'll play Baelish.
Where am I?
Go down here where it says, "Why did you kill him?"
Why did you kill him?
Because he was a drunk and a fool, and I don't trust drunk fools. Cool.
But he saved me.
Saved you, my lady. He followed my orders, every one of them, and he did it all for gold. Money buys a man silence for a time. A bolt in the heart buys it forever. Right?
He was helping me. Yeah, he was helping me because I saved his family.
Yes, and he gave you a priceless necklace that once belonged to his grandmother, the last legacy of House Hollard. I had it made a few weeks ago. What did I once tell you about the capital? She says we're all liars here. There you go. I'll just finish.
Yeah, we're all liars.
Yeah. So there you go. He told her from day one. So, you might want to queue up the next one if we do it again, Jay. It'll be a little bit further down, but we'll get to that. But yeah, basically he proves in this moment that he warned her from day one about the people in King's Landing, not to trust anybody, not to trust what you see, not what you're told. Keep your head on a swivel. And Baelish is a master at kind of being 5 steps ahead of folks and kind of orchestrating this whole situation, right? So getting her out of King's Landing upon the death of Joffrey here. So more on that later. But that was a good trial run, Jay. Maybe we'll if you guys like that, let us know. We'll have to continue this one. This is pretty fun that way, I figured. So, anyways,
you gotta learn how to do it page by page, how to separate the pages.
So on the next scene here, we got this is a quick scene, very quick. Marjorie basically has the conversation with her mother, her grandmother there, Olenna, about Joffrey's death in this scene, right? And they kind of just conversate quickly about this, about how she's doing, and how she's taking everything in this moment, right? Jay, how about you play Olenna and I'll play Marjorie.
Okay, which one do you?
It's a little farther down, not much farther now. It's one of my husbands preferred the company of men is the part.
Oh, look at that! I'm right on there.
There you go. Why don't you go? You go ahead. You play Marjorie then. This is a great quote.
About one of my husbands.
Yeah.
I want to hear about one of my husbands.
Go ahead.
One of my husbands preferred the company of men, and one was stabbed through the heart. Another was happiest torturing animals and was poisoned at our wedding feast. I must be cursed.
Nonsense. Your circumstances have improved markedly. You may not have enjoyed watching him die, but you enjoyed it more than you would have enjoyed being married to him. I can promise you that. There you go. Great quote. And she tells her straight up, like, that guy was a piece of shit. I think you really dodged a bullet here, right? The plot thickens. The plot thickens, guys. All right. Don't worry, the whole show's not going to be me and Jay acting stuff out, guys. Just a few quotes I've highlighted here, some good stuff. But yeah, some great.
I seem to be the hot chicks in this one. That's all right. That's the way you prefer me.
There's some good dialogue in these episodes, so I figured it's a better way of just kind of throwing out random quotes about going about some of these scenes, right? So, anyways, next we're back over in King's Landing. And I believe this is the scene that Jay had referred to earlier on in the show. With King Joffrey dead, Cersei mourns the death of her eldest son. Still holding Joffrey in her arms, she demands that Sansa Stark be found. Her father seals the capital so no one can leave. Prince Tommen Baratheon, which is her other son, pays his respects to his dead brother in the Great Sept of Baelor. Now, Tommen, of course, will become the next king now as a result of Joffrey being dead, and he's the next in line. He was younger than Joffrey. Tywin Lannister also present
He
immediately.
looks nicer though.
Yeah, so far he is, right? Tywin Lannister, also present, immediately begins instructing a young prince on the qualities of a good king.
That's the best.
Yeah.
He really tests him there.
He sure does.
Fuck.
Here, let's go to those quotes, shall we?
Oh, shall we?
So you play Tywin. So you go to the part where he mentions he's running down all the reasons as to why certain kings have been killed in the past.
So we have a man who starves himself to death, a man who lets his own brother murder him, and a man who thinks that winning and ruling are the same thing. What do they all lack?
And Tommen's like wisdom.
Yes.
And this is at the end of Tywin going through all these other scenarios with other kings prior to him who basically got killed or otherwise, and basically instructs them on what their downfalls were and what not to do, right? Because, and this is, mind you, this is standing over Joffrey's deathbed, essentially, with Cersei standing there. And she's kind of like, do you really think this is the time for that? And if you didn't think it was a time for that, it's certainly not the time for what happens directly after this. Let's get into that.
I just want to show you, this is the scene where they're talking, and you can see it. And this is Nico's favorite post, like his favorite screenshot of, I think, because it was finally the scene where his buddy finally dies, or you see him dead. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice. Poor little Joffrey there.
He
looks good laying there, though.
Yeah, never looks better.
No, never looked better.
So Tywin Lannister, also present, immediately begins instructing the young prince on the qualities of a good king. Jaime enters to see Cersei calling for the death of the accused Tyrion and his wife Sansa Stark. He tries to comfort her. She refuses. Also, I should mention Tywin and Tommen leave during this moment. Like they've been
asked to leave. Yeah,
they are asked to leave. So she, tries to comfort her. She refuses initially. Cersei insists that during the private viewing of their son's corpse is a highly inappropriate place for sex, as he comes on to her and asks.
I didn't think she was gonna be like that at first. Like it was kind of weird. I was like, it's inappropriate. I didn't think anywhere was inappropriate.
And asked
I thought the whole deed of doing your sister is inappropriate.
And asked Jaime to stop. Saying it isn't right. And Jaime refuses to stop, saying, I don't care. Then they have sex next to their dead son's corpse. Now, he raped her here, right? Like, he raped her in this scene. This is pretty fun.
I would think so. He's
literally saying no. He's like,
but was her no really a yes? Is the
no,
thing? Because did you see her face after? It kind of was like,
yeah, once he's fucking doing his thing, but no, he pretty much raped her. I mean, let's
pretty much. Honestly, that's not the surprising part about it, though. You know what I mean? It was
the fact that it's their son and they're having sex to his dead body next to his dead body.
In the church. Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, this is something that the taboo of it all, I guess, turned him on. Fucking and let's not forget, leading up to this point, she wasn't letting him have sex with her when he returned because she was kind of over all this. And then this happened. And then he chose this time of all fucking times, I guess, seeing a window of comforting her to basically.
Well, I'll speak for all men back then. They probably didn't have a good way of communicating, and especially when it was emotionally. I'm pretty sure it was the only way they knew how to, emotionally, without crying. Yeah, it's just get a boner.
So, you guys have heard me probably big this guy up lately leading up to this episode, okay? And this is, I think, the brilliance of the character in a way. I don't know how this type of horrible human being that's capable of doing something like this is also a noble person at times and a really great character other fucking moments. I don't know.
There's a good part next season, next episode.
Yeah,
that's
I know. I know. This is what I'm saying though. Like it's
really fucked.
Very reprehensible fucking human being, and I don't know how I could fucking sit there and be like, I really like this dude, and then this shit happens, right? And mind you, I feel like I said, one of his character arc is one of my favorite of the show. Just how he goes from point A to point B in terms of like the way
personality
over time. Yeah, absolutely. And I think if anything,
Well,
a little bit of the old Jamie here, whatever's going down between his relationship with him and Cersei still, at least not the way he's been acting lately. I think that's evidenced by other actions that he does, you know what I mean? Or the way he treats other people. But this is downright fucked up that what happens here. Like, you know what I mean?
this was like I honestly, at first I thought the tit part was much, when she's sucking the kid,
No,
the
that's
13-year-old
just
was
weird.
sucking the
That's
tit,
just
but
weird.
no, but yeah,
Fucked up.
so I thought this was weird. Like at first, and then I sat back and I thought about it, and I thought this is weird, but this is weird in a different sort of weird way. This is like, I don't know why am I watching this?
Yeah, it's not even consensual. It's not. She's
But
not
this
even.
is what I mean. It's like this is
Not even
inbreeding
consensual.
at its prime,
That's what I mean.
example.
Forces himself on her. This is a fucking downright horrible fucking moment for this character. Like, yeah,
I mean,
this is fucked up. I mean,
we
this
never know what the people were like back in the day or in real life,
you
right?
can't
We don't
you
that
can't
far back,
you can't
right? Like
you can't defend this, man. You can't.
y-
Hey, listen,
you can't, in a sense. Like, I mean, we don't know how people were sick back in the day, especially when inbreeding was going on, and it was like a thing back in like the old time. Like I would think in the like good old you know Roman days and fucking, and who knows, even way before that, bro, when they were just starting to figure out lands and stuff. You know what I mean? Who the fuck knows, man? We don't know what it was like. I mean, it's not gonna
bro,
tell you, hey, listen, I had sex with this girl in the
bro,
fucking.
he raped
If
his
somebody can think about this, and it's possible. It's
bro,
happened before.
he raped his sister beside the corpse of their son. Their
Yes,
inbred son, their fucking son that come on, bro.
but
Like,
somebody wrote it too. That was the best part.
not only did they write it, they acted it out. These people.
But so somebody physically, I mean, I thought of weird things, bro.
No, but
But somebody physically thought of this in a book.
this is why the character is great, but also problematic because like I don't
Very.
know how you could do this and not hate this guy. You know, watch this, like subject ourselves to watching this scene and walk away from this, and then like I mentioned, the next episode or even maybe even later on,
Couple
being
scenes, yeah, later, yeah,
this
you
guy,
like them.
this guy's a noble dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I said both things though. I literally did, and I think that's the power of the character or the show in that sense, right? Because I don't think it's excusable what went down.
No,
You
not at all.
can't forget that, but yet you're still captivated by what goes down, and they kind of like
Well,
I don't like
I even had to ask myself, is this rape?
yes,
I was more disgusted at first.
it is.
But
Yeah,
then I
but
had to actually, stop and ask myself, was it rape? Because
yeah,
she didn't say yes,
yes.
nothing. So I mean, I didn't hear
Well,
yes in there.
well,
No, they get away, and this I'm
well,
not here or something.
well, that's why I just said let's call a spade here, man. It is what it is in this scene. No, she says no. She doesn't even say it. You know, at first she says it isn't right, and whatever.
Yeah,
He's mooching
that's
her.
when you wonder when the no is really a yes.
He's
Like,
mad. He's mad another
sorry
thing.
guys,
Okay,
this
but
is JT
no, but
hashtag J2.
she literally though when she says like keeps continuing to say that and saying no no no, he says
Mm.
I don't care. Like that's even worse. Like he's like I don't give a fuck about your pleas right now. Like I'm just gonna do what I'm here to do, and I'm
I'm
gonna.
an animal and I'm gonna roar. He's
Anyways, let's
fucked.
move on. It was fucked up.
It's hard to argue that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
trying.
I
I'm
don't know.
trying,
I
dude.
really don't know why you are, but okay. Meanwhile,
Because I like the character.
as do I. No, but
Yeah, I
this
know.
as do I.
I'm
As do
trying to
I.
find a way to justify it.
I stand by liking the character. I just
Yeah.
think I don't know how you can like a character and despise a character at the same time, but they fucking ride that line, right? Like, because this is a pretty fucked up moment. And
Yeah.
mind you, he did other fucked up things prior to this, right? But then there was that whole arc of the last season when
That's
he's
what. Yeah.
Brienne, where you kind of think differently of him, right? And then again, they call back to that. Like, there's moments with him and Tyrion, there's moments with Brienne coming out, like that you think that, okay, yeah, no, this guy's a good dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't forget about this, though. It's crazy. Anyways,
Keep thinking
meanwhile,
something upstairs.
yeah.
Sorry.
Meanwhile, Arya and the Hound are crossing the Riverlands, and they're spotted by a farmer and his young daughter while making their way to the Vale, where Arya can be ransomed to her rich aunt Lisa Arryn. And of course, we already know that is where Baelish went previously was now
Yeah.
that he's going to be wed to Lisa Aaron and Lord of that area, right? So, or basically, Arya quickly fabricates a story that the Hound and she are father and daughter while coming across these farmers, and this is actually possibly the first time while the farmer is chatting with them. I don't know if they mentioned this previously, Jared, if this is the first time I took note of it, but they refer to what went down as the Red Wedding in this scene. This is the first time I feel like it's mentioned and referred to as the Red Wedding, because he's like, oh yeah, that's what they're calling it. Because
I can't tell between what you guys tell me. Like with you guys, I can tell with you guys what you guys have all been referring to it as that. The people that know the episode and whatever.
yes,
But it's never been referred to that. In the show or on in the even the name of the episode wasn't the Red Wedding.
That's
right.
I think this is the first time it was referred to as the Red Wedding. Now, whether or not they threw that in there because that's what everyone took to calling it as the fans, or that is what it was called in the book, or anyways, this is the first time it was referred to that as, I feel like, on the show that I've took note of anyways. And because the farmer's talking to him about what he heard went down over there, and they mentioned that he's basically a knight in service of House Tully. Is basically how they frame it, right? They're pretending that there's someone that they're not. The farmer believes it and allows the pair to stay the night in his home and shares a meal with them. Arya wakes up the following morning to hear the farmer's daughter screaming.
But did you see the way he ate the meal, dude?
Oh yeah, they slurped
as soon
it
as
out.
they couldn't even. The guy was trying to say grace and thank you and all that stuff. Like he was trying to say nice about every single thing about this warrior, about this guy coming to my house, blah blah blah. Yeah, and they're just fucking all over their shirts, everything.
Yeah, but in that conversation, they're hungry. They've been on the road, right? In that,
they've been starving.
I feel this farmer was a little bit too open. Maybe he ran his mouth a little bit too much about silver and other things because, as I mentioned, the next morning,
I mean, right away.
Yeah, Arya wakes up to his daughter screaming, and the Hound assaulted the farmer and took his silver. Arya demands to know why he did that. He simply states a dead man doesn't need his silver, claiming the farmer is weak and that he and his daughter would not survive the upcoming winter. Now, do you agree with his line of thinking at all? Because this isn't the first time he's exhibited this line of thinking. And every time, the only comeback he has when Arya brings up these things about why he hurts innocent people that don't deserve it is that, again, that they're weak, they don't deserve this, and there's worse people out there in the world than which is true. Like, what he's saying isn't wrong, but does that give him the right to also...
Well, he's like basically playing judge, jury, and executioner, right?
It's not right. That's what I mean. It doesn't make him a better person. I know that this is how he justifies.
Not for killing them, yeah.
He does. This is what he justifies for what he does, right? But he's like, they'd rather die, like get fucked up by my hand than somebody else, because this is going to happen to them either way. He just, he sees an opportunity and he takes it. That doesn't make it right, though. I don't agree with his line of thinking like this, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there's a lot of weird lines of thinking way back, in this show. And then they, but they actually make it so that it's not so far-fetched when it comes to believing that it's possibly happened in real life back in the day, or I keep relating to this because it's fantasy, but still because a lot of it probably based on that's sort of error too, right? So kings and queens and all that crap, and so I mean, he doesn't make it sound so unbelievable. There's certain things that he makes sense of. That I can defend, though. I mean, I can defend that over the rape thing probably more.
I mean, he has an interesting way of justifying.
He's trying to justify it to himself. So maybe maybe that's his way of believing that he's gonna go to like heaven or something. Like if you really want to believe that or all that too, right? So, I mean, that could be just him. Maybe that's what he's trying to do to tell it it's okay to to her to say, hey, you know what? If you have to kill them, you do it to survive.
I think it's his way of justifying his actions, right?
And how to stay alive, and but he's only doing it to stay alive. I mean, he's not doing it for the bad thing. I know it's just hard.
But I think Arya's way of looking at things is there's ways we can still get what we need to get. Like they were able to trick them into believing there are other people in order to get
she was good at that.
A good night's sleep and a meal. Like they're still making their way through the world and figuring it out, but yet they have two different ways of going about things. It seems like Arya wouldn't hurt an innocent person for no reason.
She's a more of a manipulator. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
good at doing
that's
that.
right. That's right. Yeah. So it's just two different tactics.
Using that charm.
These two keep bumping heads as a result, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, on their journey, right? So,
I wonder
anyways,
if they're gonna be married one day. Sorry.
next we cut over to Castle Black, and we get a scene with Sam basically fearing the safety of Gilly, and he says that he's going to move her to a town basically because he's afraid of all the horny ass men like Jay that are at Castle Black that he feels like would try to have sex with her or do harm by her or something else, right? He doesn't want.
I'm not a bastard. I don't defend the wall, okay, buddy?
Yeah, he doesn't want to tempt the men of Castle Black, right? Because they're not able to actually have sex with the men by oath or whatever, right? They're married to the realm, right? So
yeah, they're married to each other.
Yeah.
It's basically saying it's a bathhouse, guys. That's where they run over there.
So we get a quick scene of that. And
Yeah.
then we cut over to Dragonstone with Stannis Baratheon. And then this scene, he learns of Joffrey's death. And, once again, he throws it in Lord Davos's face by saying, like, yeah, I Sir Davos.
Power.
Well, yeah, he's like, yeah, remember? That was the other name that I threw out there on the fire there. Look what happened, right? And he kind of throws it in his face once again that, I know you hate on all this magic shit, but by the way, I was right. Look what happened. He's dead too now, right? So he enjoys proving him wrong in these moments, that kind of shit, right? So and then he warns them that he's like, listen, my time to lay claim to the Iron Throne as a result of all this shit happening is dwindling, and I need an army. Like, you're supposed to be able to secure my army. Like, what's going on with that, right? And he basically warns them, like, you're running out of time. Like, you need to, get an army for me so I can take what's rightfully mine, the throne, right? And then shortly after, Sir Davos begins his reading lessons with his daughter there, Princess Shireen Baratheon.
He's doing good, but
yeah, he is. Yes. And he realizes during this, while reading something that she's making him read that may be challenging for him, and they mentioned something about in regards to Braavos during this, and then he tries to give her like a little bit of a history lesson on that whole situation. And while doing so, he kind of comes to an epiphany of what he can do in order to help their situation with the army, right? So he says, in his haste, he basically lets her know to write a letter out for him because it looks like he's gonna reach out to Braavos and
look more professional from her.
Yeah,
like she wanted him to try. Like she's a good teacher, man. She'd make a good teacher. Fuck, I give her credit for that.
I like how he gave her shit too about how her father and her are the same, because he's like, oh, your father's getting on my case about that. You're getting on my case because he was late for the lesson as a result of dealing with her father, right? And she's like, oh, you're late. You're supposed to be reading this stuff tonight or whatever. And he's like, your father, you are both the same, but he's getting better. Yeah, he even hits on the big words. She's really
look at that
nice relationship that these two have, right? So
yeah, I like how they throw these little cute moments in there here and there.
Yeah,
it's a nice scene between a young person and an older person, and they're not sleeping with each other, and that's great.
Yeah, it's only to kind of build you up, Jay, before they do something horrible to these people.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for, man. I grit my teeth every time I see them. I'm biting my nails, going, "Fuck, what's gonna happen next? I gotta wait. I want to watch the next episode. There's something else, but that I want to watch, though. I can't. It's like fighting in my head. So great.
Then we cut to another quick scene again with Sam, and in this scene he drops Gilly off at an inn. And basically, he tries to ensure that she will not be touched while she's there. He instructs the inn that she can help out with things like, cleaning and all this other shit. And he ends up leaving her.
Well, hey, they even offered her she make some extra cash if they basically threw that out there. He without so many words, if we whore her out, it'd be even more money,
And then there's like some creepy looking woman or man, I don't know what.
Yeah, what is that? Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if I have a picture here because I'm on that in Wikipedia. That was a weird one. She kind of was hot.
I think it was a woman, but she was creepy looking like that. And she was talking to her. And Gilly was trying to be polite to her, but her line of questioning was very strange, about who is she and what's she doing there. And Gilly, obviously being a wildling, she was trying to hide that fact. And she's like, "Oh, who's the father?" And he's like,
And this weird
"Yeah,
look she had on her
yeah."
face.
But her
Yeah,
face
like
was very strange looking. Yeah, I don't know. It was odd. So I'm
I
glad you
mean,
caught that because me watching it, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I don't know, bro. I really don't. I mean, the woman really looked butchery back in the day. Probably that's all it was.
So
Results of inbreeding, bro. I'm telling you.
then we cut back there. We cut to an orgy scene.
That's what I wrote too. Next scene, ass and orgy time.
Yeah, with Oberyn Martell, as we
Oberyn's
know
the
him.
best, bro. Like
Oberyn
he's, he likes it all, buddy.
I'm glad to hear you say that because of
I
course
like it.
Oberyn is played by what's his name there?
One and only Pedro
Pedro
Pascal.
Pascal.
There you
And
go.
our guest who's coming on at the end of this season loves this.
Wait. Is it Pedro?
Yeah, it's him. He's coming on.
All right.
He loves this character. This is probably his favorite character. He stated to me it was Oberyn Martell, and yeah, I mean this guy's
I'm gonna have to ask him why.
This guy's he's living life. He's having sex with everybody. He doesn't fucking care. He's in the orgy. He's having sex with this one. He's having sex with that one. He's just doing his thing, right?
Yeah, it's really starting to make you wonder: is it really that bad of a thing? Like like really, dude. I mean, everybody's in love. It's hippie days all over again. Like come on, man. Really, peace, love, and all the ass in the world.
There you go. So Tywin interrupts Oberyn Martell and his group sex act with Ilaria Sand and Oliver to discuss Tyrion's upcoming trial for the murder of Joffrey. Tywin brings up Oberyn's knowledge of poisons and the link between that and Joffrey's death. He mentions basically the fact that Oberyn went to, like, he was schooled on poisons, essentially. He said, and
Smart.
He knows this shit about him. I guess he's trying to connect the dots a little bit about what exactly occurred, right?
He's trying to follow the evidence. Yeah, it's kind of cool to watch them. After you do killer content like I do, you get to hear that point of view, and then hear this. This is like these are like cops taking like notes, like detectives. It's pretty cool.
And he wonders whether Oberyn helped Tyrion. The topic changes to the murder of Oberyn's sister, Elia, which he expressed to Tyrion in the previous episode as as Tywin's pet, the Mountain, during the sack of King's Landing. And if you guys previously remember, Oberyn didn't like Tywin and have it out for the Lannisters as a result of this, because he says that the Mountain, that he believes upon Tywin's orders, killed his sister. So this is why he's basically there, and he's basically stirring shit up, like prior to this, right? He was kind of.
This is when I think he's kind of trying to even what's it called? He's trying to talk. It almost seems like he's thinking ahead, like almost like something that Tyrion would do. You know what I mean? Like he's that he's got like that's like. It's actually smart what he's thinking right now too, in this sense.
Well, I think that's why the more we get into the character throughout this season, you're going to notice that he is a very layered character, like many others. He's not just some like sex pot who's like having sex with everybody. You know what I mean? Like he is actually a threat, this guy, and he is smart. You know what I mean? So like, I think he's a very interesting, complex character, and I think that's why he's beloved by so many people. And again, this is prior to when
a lot of things,
Pedro Pascal being a household name, right? It's like this is not when he wasn't a household.
This is like right off the theater, man. This is like some crazy stuff. I remember I listened to a podcast about him with a few people. Yeah, that was a great one. So
they
said they need him for the dragons. Lannister was saying Tyrion.
Well, the topic changes to the murder of Oberyn's sister, as I mentioned. And Tywin denies ordering her death, but promises to arrange a meeting between Oberyn and the Mountain, which is a big deal. And not only that, he also offers Oberyn a position on the small council. And if Oberyn agrees to be the third judge at Tyrion's trial, he explains that he is eager to bring Dorne back into the fold. Just read that wrong. And wanting to unite the Seven Kingdoms against more obvious threats. He basically mentions to him the fact that right now, like with everything going on, the Greyjoys are in a rebellion basically he wants him to help him out to unite the Seven Kingdoms once again, basically, right? And he offers him all this shit. The Greyjoys are in a rebellion. The Wildling army is advancing on the wall, and there is a Targaryen girl in the east with a powerful army and 3 dragons who will eventually threaten Westeros.
So they know she's coming one day.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's been floating, right?
Already, yeah. Tywin observes that only the Dornish successfully resisted Aegon Targaryen's dragons during the invasion of Westeros 3 centuries ago, which again, dropping knowledge as to what has occurred probably or is about to occur in House of Dragons, right? It hasn't occurred yet, but Oberyn dryly notes it must be hard for Tywin to admit he needs the Dornish for help. So he's loving this moment. Like Tywin is basically in this moment trying to get all of his ducks in a row by offering him all this shit because he knows that he needs him in this moment in order to strengthen what's occurring outside of King's Landing and what is going to basically be at their doorstep. Or is Tywin just trying to bring him closer? You know, keep your enemies close, your friends closer, right? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of this move right here? Do you think Tywin's genuine in offering him all this shit, or what's the deal here? Because like Oberyn, previous to that, he wants nothing more than to kill Tywin. Like he hates the Lannisters. Why would he go and do all this shit for him now, right?
You know, I think he's only in it for himself too. What's his name? Tywin. Yeah. So I don't think any of this even
is genuine.
I think it will happen if he has to at fifth worst case scenario because he has that power. But I mean, I don't think it's genuine that he would do any sort of give any. But I know he needs the people, man, because he knows he's starting to get outnumbered.
I mean, if
his thing, his kingdom is starting to fucking fall apart inside out.
Right.
It's weirdly.
If anything, though, Tywin is a master strategist that we've seen time and time again, right? So I think that's basically.
You can only take so much, right? True. Before you get fooled.
That's true. So yeah, here's a quote from this scene. This is Oberyn. I never realized you had such respect for Dorne, Lord Tywin. We are not the Seven Kingdoms until Dorne returns to the fold, he says. The king is dead. The Greyjoys are in open rebellion. A waddling army marches on the wall. And in the east, a Targaryen girl has 3 dragons. And as I mentioned, that's what he says to him in that scene. And I also really like this scene as he comes in when he breaks in on him during the orgy. He's like, "Oh, do you want to have a seat?" He's like, "No, thank you."
No, thank you.
He tells him to come sit on the bed with him. You know,
he pats on the bed. I think he slaps the ass too, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
As the person's leaving, that comes off the bed.
He plays this so good. Like he does. He's so very artsy this way, man. Like. I didn't know that about him. I picture him in fucking Last of Us now, and really at the end of the day, that's the type of guy I picture when I see him in that type of role. But I don't see him in this type of role. This is amazing.
That's called acting, folks. As much as
no shit, Sherlock.
No, but I'm just saying, as much as some people nowadays, and back then too, for that matter, are scared of seeing some homosexuality on the screen, or don't want to look at that kind of stuff, or you know what I mean, people that shy away from that kind of thing. Listen, he's an actor, he's acting a part, like whether or not, you know what I mean, some of the best roles that we've seen in some of these shows are gay characters. And if you can't, now this is also at a time though that they would allow people that weren't gay to play gay. Now I think it's not as more frowned upon, right? But you know, I don't know if he's bi. I don't think he is, but you know, who the hell knows? Nowadays, though, I think that they would take him to task if he were to play, which I think is a shame because, again, I think some of these things should go to the people that are most qualified, and it's nice to see some of these actors go outside of their comfort zone and play different characters like this. Like you said,
but in the end, he's looking like he's enjoying it too. So that's the great part about it, and that's what's good about acting. How many scenes?
I don't fucking know. Like said, the actors, these artsy folks, that they are kind of free sometimes with this kind of shit, right? And then the other thing too about this is he's very convincing as this character. And nowadays, you're used to seeing him in all these more macho fucking roles, like badass guys as the Mandalorian or the Last of Us guy, right? So it's interesting to see this character that he played a character like this, right? Yeah, he's awesome.
Just shows how good of an actor he is, really.
That range, right? So
yeah.
So anyways, now we cut over to Tyrion. Finally, we've been hearing that he's been locked away at the end of the wedding there because Cersei, sicked all the guards on him there, and Tyrion's in a cell in King's Landing. He is visited by his squire Podrick in this scene, who has smuggled in some food and some other items for him. He apologizes. He tried to smuggle in the liquor, but that didn't go over too well for him. But he mentions
That was nice of him, though.
Yeah, he tried. He mentions that his trial is in a fortnight, and that he's been asked to compile a list of Tyrion's witnesses that he wants to allow. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I have a question for the class. Is that like the Fortnite and you had a kind of like the game, and that's all I thought of when I heard that when they talked about it in the show. I was thinking, why would they? Okay, but I guess it's, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what that resembles.
It's an
why
old
they used it for a game.
Yeah, it's they don't say it anymore, but they used to say it. Like, I mean, sometimes some people will still use the phrase, but yeah, it's, you know, why don't you look it up? Use the little Google machine there, and if you want to look up the definition of Fortnite, he didn't mean the game. Pod has been asked to compile a list of witnesses. I can't believe you interrupted me for that shit. He names his wife Sansa, but Pod informs him that she disappeared moments after Joffrey's death. He cannot speak to Bronn either because, as a close associate of Tyrion, he is also under investigation currently. Pod confirms that there's been no word from Shay, which Tyrion takes as good news. Tyrion then asks to speak with Jaime. Pod said he'll ask.
Look around. Yeah.
This is when he warns him. He warns him to be aware of his surroundings and to watch out out for they. And he says, who's they? He's like, they being, Tywin, Cersei, Varys, or more or less anyone else, he explains. He says, many people have had a motive for killing Joffrey. Cersei is the only person that he rules out in this moment. He urges Pod to get out of King's Landing, as he would be in much danger due to everything going on, especially after refusing to testify against Tyrion, despite the offer of a knighthood. And as he's about to leave, there's a great quote. Tyrion calls him back and tells him that there has never lived a more loyal squire. This was a nice moment.
Yeah, it was.
He's really stuck by Tyrion through thick and thin, whether it be on the battlefield, whether it be like he saved his life in that one scene. Like this guy, I think people thought of this dude as a bumbling idiot. And Tyrion, that's why he took him under his wing at first, right? Because he felt like, I need to look out for the misunderstood and the folks like me that are going to be frowned. You know what I mean? People are going to look down on him. Yeah. And he turned out to be a pretty fucking stand-up dude, this Podrick, right? I gotta say, like he's really been there for him, and
the ladies love him, man.
And the ladies love him, yeah.
Don't forget about that, man.
Yeah.
No, they this is a really big arc in this episode, in a sense. They went from so many things. They went from fucking getting raped in a church to, showing the bisexualism, and then showing and using the word they, and they were being proper with everything afterwards, but they showed that whole rape fucking scene in the beginning to throw you right off. Yeah. Like, and then they pull you back in slowly with everything they do that's nice,
Brilliance of the show at times, right?
Man. No, it's fucking driving me nuts because it keeps you literally on the edge of your seat, man.
Yeah. Podrick says also in this scene that someone approached him who he didn't know, and he wanted him to lie basically and say that Tyrion purchased a poison called the Strangler in order to basically kill.
They want him to be a juror too, right, or whatever. They wanted to speak on his behalf.
Yeah, so people are trying to get at him, right? And he's just looking, out for his well-being. So he tells him to get the fuck out of there, right? A couple of good.
He doesn't want to take down anybody with him too. That's a nice thing about Tyrion. Yes. He's in it for himself, man.
Well, a couple of good quotes from this scene. Speaking of Tyrion, what he basically says to him here, he says, "The world," when he's being questioned about whether or not he did it, he says, "The world is a better place without it, but I had nothing to do with it. I would like to think if I were arranging a royal assassination, I planned it in such a way that I wouldn't be standing there gawking like a fool when the king died," which is true, right?
He's been a lot smarter than that.
And stay tuned, because that is proven correct in the next episode, guys. This basically what he says here, right? Someone else had that same line of thinking. Another thing here, when he's giving him the rundown of what's going on, he says, "Give it to my father. He never fails to take advantage of a family tragedy."
You know what? I actually wrote that down too, specifically because that's come up before, right? And it there's a lot of things. Never let a good tragedy go to waste, right?
Well, I think if you're gonna compare the children's mindsets and who's like who, Cersei is more in line with her father, and Jamie I think is more in line with Tyrion, right? I mean, in terms
Yeah,
of, I don't know who their mother was, but
probably
maybe
their dad's sister. Who knows?
yeah. So and hold on here, and lastly, when he questions him about whether or not he revealed anything to them when they were questioning him. He's like, "What did you tell him?" "I didn't tell them anything, my lord." "Are you going to accept their offer, my lord?" He's like, "Testifying against me wasn't a suggestion. If they can't tempt you with honey, they'll choose something less sweet."
Yeah,
He's
shit.
like, and then Podrick's like, "You've been good to me, my lord. Pod, the trial's in a fortnight. They'll want an answer before that. I already gave them an answer, my lord. I will not have you dying on my behalf. Do you hear me? If I have to take a long walk to the executioner's block, I don't want to see your head already mounted." To Jay's point about what he said there. So yeah, I like that. That's a pretty fucking noble move on his part, saying like, I'm not going to drag you down with me as a result of everything going on, right? And it seems like he's willing to be there with them, but he says, watch yourself. Like I'm done for, essentially. Like he's like, well, whatever's gonna happen to me is gonna happen to me, right? It seems like he's saying to him at this point, right?
Yeah, he's got the one person that fucking is his judge that doesn't like, that's always against him, which is his dad.
Right. Yeah, the whole jury of his peers that they're forming
Set
here.
up.
Basically, he points out later on, like every other person has an issue with me on this jury. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this
anyway,
should be interesting.
it should be. So stay tuned for that, guys. And then next scene, you get a quick scene here, but effective scene. A village south of the walls attacked by a raiding of wildlings under Tormund and the cannibalistic Thens. While the village is massacred, a lone boy is sent by the Stir as a messenger to Castle Black to relay an account of the massacre and also a warning that more would follow.
This got there quick, eh?
Yeah, this is fucked up because there's a fucking crazy quote here by the Then guy who already identified himself as a cannibal in the last episode. He goes up to the boy he's
like, fucked.
It's your parents. He's like, "I'm going to eat them. Do you hear me? I'm going to eat your dead mama and your dead papa."
Yeah, dude, right there.
And the kid's like horrified. He basically says, like, go warn them that we're coming for them, right? And this is based off information that Tormund thinks that he had gotten previously from Jon Snow while he was with his time with the wildlings, right? So yeah, this is getting pretty crazy out there beyond the wall here. What's going on right now? They got the cannibals involved too. So we'll see how this plays out, guys. But very interesting stuff. Then next up, we're back here to I guess the Castle Black, having received word of the wildlings raids down south. The Lord Commander states that they do not have the manpower to afford venturing away from the wall. Ed and Gren return to Castle Black after escaping Craster's Keep. Jon reveals he told Mance Rayder that 1,000 men armed Castle Black, and therefore points out that when Mance reaches Craster's Keep, Rast, and if you don't recall, Jay, Craster's Keep was where that Craster guy was, and then the bunch of
bang his daughters, that guy.
That's right. A bunch of the people that were previously part of their group, there was an uprising there, if you recall, and they basically they took over essentially Craster's Keep, and Sam ran away from that whole situation. But right now, Craster's Keep has been taken over by rogue. What do you call it? Men of some sort. From Castle Black, essentially.
Yeah. We had to find a way to. They had nowhere to go, right? Yeah.
Night Watchmen, essentially, right? Have taken over there.
The ones that want to get laid after eventually.
And Rast and Carl Tanner are the guys that are leading the rebellion there over there, the uprising at Craster's Keep. They will not hesitate in revealing the truth. Jon then insists the Night's Watch send a party to Craster's Keep to kill their traitor brothers before Mance gets to them first. So yeah,
he's worried, man. He knows he doesn't have enough men.
Shit is building right now beyond the wall. It's getting pretty fucking crazy. Actually, that's turning into one of the better storylines outside of King's Landing, I have to say, on the show right now.
I feel like that's where it's going right now. Like it's starting to go, and it's going to take you to some interesting characters coming up. I hope to see that in this season, right?
Absolutely. All right, now the final scene of the episode, which is a big one. In Slaver's Bay, Daenerys Targaryen marches on the city of Meereen as she begins her siege of the slave city. She is faced with a champion's duel where a riding knight of Marine challenges her to choose a champion and that they will fight for her. Grey Worm, Jorah, and Barristan all volunteer to stand as their champion. She refuses all three as they're too valuable to her. And of course, her new lover boy there, Dario Naharis, commander of the Second Sons, volunteers to be her champion, and she accepts. And this is a pretty interesting move that he pulls here. Very slick.
The first guy, but even two, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. He comes out of the fucking castle.
Whips like throwing knives at the guy's fucking horse, and this guy flies off the fucking horse, and he just like slices, like he just like kills.
No, and then first he comes out and pisses everywhere, like on the ground.
He kills him, and then he pisses on his fucking like.
Well, because when he came out of the castle first, when he came out of the wall first, he pissed first, right? The first guy, and he just said, "Okay, my cock's bigger." That's what it was. It was just to see who's his bigger, brother.
He quickly kills the Marines champion,
and they show you guys the tip too, guys. If you want to see the tip, that's the only frontal real nudity you see, so you get to see it. So check it out.
He takes care of the Marines champion and the horse quickly. Daenerys begins her siege of the city by speaking of freedom to the gathered slaves, and then this is the interesting part. He catapults broken chains at those who have that she's freed, basically across the city walls, in a very symbolic, like, I'm the breaker of chains, hence the name of this episode, like a very symbolic kind of showing of her strength and what she's done for folks. They catapult these canisters essentially that contain the chains that all the slaves that are now working with her basically had broken free of as a result, right? And then this kind of stirs everybody up as they see all the chains and they're like, oh my God, right? And she's putting ideas in the heads of these folks, like maybe we can overcome all these, like the city, and actually stand up for ourselves and, you know, basically not become slaves anymore, because she needs them to meet her halfway. They have to want to be freed, right? At this point, it seems like, right? Like because, you know, she's been kind of dealing with the politics of this city going back and forth, and they're not getting any further, right? Like up to this point. So this is a big display of like, look at the size of my cock, Jay, to your point.
Like, straight up. You know, until that part, I didn't understand because I was waiting for the meaning behind the name to the episode. Until that part, I didn't understand it, right?
Well, this is one of her many names now, is the breaker of chains, right? She is, at this point in time, she has already relieved 2 other cities of their slavery, right? Like she's already like this is what her shtick is basically becoming her, like what she's doing, right? Is she's making her army more powerful and more powerful by freeing all these people from all their areas, because she looks down on slavery, right? She despises it. So that's basically,
then ultimately they become scared of her anyways, because if she's able to free them, right? Like, I mean, and they couldn't free themselves. And no, I get what you're doing, where you're going with this. You know what? She went from the girl that I like to see naked in the beginning to the one that we never do now, and now she's like setting people free and build. You know, like I don't know what to think of her yet either.
And by doing this, even with the symbolism of the chains and everything else, and the uprising of all these folks and these people that she's basically allowing to their freedom, you know, she's allowing their freedom, but as a result, she's also like, they're more in agreement to join her for her wants and needs. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird, like,
tit for a tat.
It's not like she's like, hey, she does basically say, you're free now, do what you want, but everyone chooses to follow her because she's such an inspirational person, I guess, that she's basically, right, in this, like,
dude, she has 3 dragons. I think everybody's starting to get scared of her now.
Right. So they're basically, let's fall in line. But then, Jay, are they doing it out of, you know,
fear,
believing in her, or fear? Exactly.
There's probably a little bit of both, right? I would think, right? The guy who cuts his nipple off is just fucked.
It's interesting to see this slowly happening, knowing, which I won't spoil where it goes, but like, it's interesting seeing what's happening while she's basically, because the first time around, you know, you're looking at all this and this all seems hunky-dory, everything's great, she's looking at all the good she's doing for these folks, but, you know, she's also becoming more and more powerful as a result, right? So it's very interesting. She's building her legend, the legend of who she is, and all these names and everything else. So that's what I mean. So this is why
I don't even know what to call her anymore.
This is why people in King's Landing, I've heard about her because of all the noise she's been making, right? So
Of course, yeah.
very interesting. So
There's
there
got
you
to be
have
some crows and pigeons that get sent over, right? Like, so
it. Yes. Yeah. So
pigeons, sorry, that's what we call them. Ravens.
I know what you meant. So there you have it, guys. That's season 4, episode 3, The Breaker of Chains. That's gonna do it for this episode. Good one, good scenes. Like as we mentioned, you went from everywhere from that horrible rape scene at the start to ending on her freeing more slaves, possibly.
Bro, and everything. I mean, like I said, they even showed you the tip just to make sure, bro, that everybody was satisfied in that episode.
There
So
you have it.
I'll leave it on that. That's JT's word of the great
great
thought of
last
the day.
note. Great contribution, Jay. Once again.
Once again.
All right, guys. So that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure that you tune in to the next one. We do put these out weekly, Thursdays at 8 p.m. over here on the Late Night Chat Network. Make sure to check out our playlist of Watching the Throne. Not Thrones, as Jay likes to say while promoting the show. It's Throne, just one. And Watching the Throne.
Yeah, but in the bottom it says Game of Thrones. Oh well, okay, because that's the show. I don't know. On the scroll across, yeah.
Clearly says Throne. But yes, guys, you can catch us here every Thursday at 8. You can go back and rewatch the episodes. We have more guests to come, as I've been teasing.
Can't wait.
I think majority of this season will be me and Jay for the most part, though. But it's been very interesting. It's been a lot of fun. And I think, like I mentioned, our surprise super fan guests, I think, will be ending out the season with us. So that'll be really interesting. So stay tuned to that one, guys. All right. We'll see you guys next time.